Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for being here as always. Today, we've got a couple of special guests. We're going to be going back to the Cardano space, talking about Milkomeda, the really hotly anticipated sidechain, an EVM compatible sidechain to be exact. And we've got Nico and Seba here to talk about all things Milkomeda straight from the team who's building it. So I want to thank Nico and Seba for joining. Nico, do you want to give a quick introduction?
Yeah, sure. Thank you for inviting us, Hashoshi. So, my name is Nico. A little bit of my background. Previously, I was the CTO of Emurgo, and for example, the golden times for Yoroi, I was me and Seba working behind it. Also, I was one of the board members of the Cardano Foundation until last year. So, I've been in the ecosystem for a while. And right now, I'm the CEO of dcSpark, and in dcSpark, we are working on Milkomeda. Milkomeda is this protocol that gives EVM capabilities for non-EVM blockchains, and more in like simple terms, like what it does. So basically, it allows to deploy Ethereum dApps into Cardano, and that's like pretty cool because we are pretty sure that this is going to bring like a bunch of apps, a bunch of like tooling, a bunch of like different like specific components that is going to help growing the ecosystem substantially. And also with me, Seba, our CTO.
Yeah, so my name is Sebastian. I'm CTO and co-founder of dcSpark. I was at Emergo with Nico previously, now over a year ago. And at the time, I was leading the Yoroi project, doing a lot of the development for that. And I was also working on the Cardano Rust SDK, which is the SDK that's used to power almost all wallets and dApps. And I was also one of the CIP reviewers, the Cardano Improvement Process reviewers. So I was leading a lot of the kind of like discussions on the protocol changes and upcoming standardization of ideas. And now I'm working at dcSpark, where I'm on Milkomeda. And I'm really excited because one of the reasons we started Milkomeda is because we really believe in interoperability. And one of the reasons we started with the Cardano deployment is because Cardano also has been a project that has always believed in interoperability, and it's always been part of the Cardano roadmap. One of the three key pillars of Cardano in the original white paper was interoperability. And the real benefit of Milkomeda is giving developers the choice, right? If you're a developer and you want to come onto the Cardano ecosystem, now you have the choice. You can use the UTXO model with Plutus, or you can use the accounting model with Solidity, which is kind of a technical thing for people who aren't developers. But these are two different systems that work very differently. And now as a developer, you can pick which system works best for you and deploy with that, which is really powerful.
Yeah, it makes a big difference to have choices. And I think right now a lot of the criticisms in the Cardano space is, hey, it's hard for certain people to come in and learn this new space and build with these new tools with Plutus, etc. And so Milkomeda, from my perspective, gives developers that have a lot of experience in developing on Ethereum Virtual Machine sort of networks the ability to bring their tooling and bring their skills and build in the Cardano space, which makes a huge difference. And right before we started talking on camera, we were talking about DeFi and how a lot of people, sort of are sort of coming to grasp the challenges around DeFi, especially in Ethereum, as you're now, due to fees, having to move on to a layer 2 or move to a side chain, and that interaction between those two networks. Maybe Nico, do you want to start us off and kind of frame that problem for folks that may have never come across it in their own experience?
Yeah, sure. So DeFi stands for decentralized finance, and there's a lot of like little things that you could do. And what is cool is that when you have blockchain, you can have assets. So you can move these assets, and they work pretty good. When you move an asset from one person to the other one, you are sure that that person doesn't have the asset anymore. So on top of that, you can start building like different protocols. So like the most common one, for example, are stable coins, which are tokens that are like pegged to a specific like asset. It could be like US dollar. And that's pretty cool because for most folks, like assets that they use on their daily lives, like dollars or other currencies, and having them in the blockchains, like start like clicking a little bit more, and then you can start bringing other type of like products that start like being pretty interesting because this is like sort of like the fundamentals. Other things that are like kind of cool is that, for example, when you want to ask for a loan, for example, usually they're like pretty high, over like 15 or 20%. You need to put like collateral. You need to say if you have real estate, if you have a car, so many questions. But with DeFi, because everything is decentralized, sometimes there is the option to do something, create like these loans with using crypto, which is like pretty interesting, and at the same time allows you to get some cash without having to sell crypto. And this like sometimes, like depending on the jurisdiction, it could be interesting because you are not going to incur into, for example, capital gains because you're not actually selling the crypto. Obviously, this is not financial advice and just an example of like the things that are possible. But also with DeFi, there's other things that are coming up. For example, bridges, and for Cardano, right now there is not stable coins. For example, when you are going to a DEX, which is part of like you could say about DeFi, everything is transacted with ADA, which is okay, but sometimes you want to like get out for something that maybe is going to be too volatile, and with stablecoins that's going to be possible. And with Milkomeda, we are going to be bringing multiple stablecoins to the Cardano ecosystem, like Tether, USDC, among other ones, which is like pretty cool. And we are doing this in collaboration with multiple bridges.
Got it. So you could almost say that Milkomeda is a mechanism by which you can bring assets that live in other places through bridges to the Cardano ecosystem and sort of fill some of those gaps that there are right now in the decentralized finance world. I think that makes sense. And Seb, I have a question for you as well. When it comes to Milkomeda and some of the things that people may have read about it, or maybe they watched the video I did way back with Nicholas, maybe they're thinking, okay, well, I don't fully grasp what this is. Is this Milkomeda a bridge? Is it an interoperability fulcrum for Cardano and Ethereum? Can you maybe give folks a more concise, semi-technical description of what this is as a sidechain?
Yeah, for sure. So we have kind of two common misconceptions about this topic. So let me just clear both of them. So the first one is that Milkomeda is what is called a sidechain. So it's not Ethereum, it's not the Cardano mainnet. It lives kind of as a separate entity, and that's why we have Milkomeda validators who come from the general community, and they'll be running the network. And so what that means is that when you're using Milkomeda, you're using ADA to pay transaction fees. You're using ADA to send value. It's like Ethereum, but instead of Ether as the base asset, you're instead using ADA. So that means that because this is not the Ethereum mainnet, you're not paying high Ethereum transaction fees, and you don't have to purchase any ETH to use the network, which makes it much smoother for Cardano users. So this is misconception number one. We're not Ethereum mainnet, we're a sidechain, and so you can take advantage of lower fees and use your ADA as is. Number two is that Milkomeda in the future plans to deploy on other networks. So we have plans for deployments on Algorand, for example. And these deployments will have their own separate network. So there'll be a deployment of Milkomeda A1 for Algorand, and they'll have Algo as the base asset. So these will be separate networks. Now, because everything is EVM based, we expect that these networks will be extremely easy to bridge. And so we expect, bridges between the Algorand deployment and the Cardano deployment and the Solana deployment to create one unified ecosystem. However, not all these are running with ADA as the base asset. So this is, the other point I want to clarify.
Yeah, I've definitely seen those misconceptions floating around, which is fine. And I think you made it very clear sort of what the distinctions are. Personally, I'm looking forward to a world where sort of the algo-based Milkomeda and the ADA-based one can kind of coexist and interact with one another. I think those two, both the communities and the fundamental principles of the networks, I think align in many ways. And so it would be nice for more deep collaboration between Algorand and Cardano. Now, outside of this, I think the biggest news of the day, and I think when this video posts, it will be MAINNET Day for Milkomeda. So I wanted to give you guys both, and maybe Nico first and then Seba, a chance to sort of talk about the plan for MAINNET, what that means for the average Cardano ADA holder or user, and what they can do on day one. Nico, do you want to kick us off there?
Yeah. So obviously I'm super excited. It's something that the team and a lot of people have been working on this. And not only dcSpark, there's like other companies that have been helping with the development of Milkomeda, like Vacuum Labs, Ethics Lab, which also are well known in the Cardano ecosystem. So I think personally, like Milkomeda has so much potential that's going to take multiple months to see everything that's going to allow it to do. And for example, once we launch, the first thing is that Cardano is not going to be this like independent and like sort of unconnected island. And now after the launch of Milkomeda, Cardano is going to be connected to Ethereum through bridges. Also, it's going to be connected with Binance Smart Chain. It's going to be connected with Avalanche, among other chains, which is like pretty cool because you're going to be able to start like moving assets and even like some of the projects that are building Cardano, they're going to be able to also be in other chains. And this is like super important because this was part of like the vision of Cardano, interoperability. So we're going to be supporting interoperability since day one. The second part is that through Milkomeda, we're going to have multiple projects launching, particularly also DEXs. So that's going to be pretty cool because you're going to be able to see DEXs that are going to have stablecoins on them. So you're going to be able to hold like USDC, Tether, and also you're going to be able to provide liquidity, get rewards, and you're going to be able to like get like a taste of like how things work with VM, which is like where most of like the things are going on. And as you already mentioned, and actually I think you mentioned in another video, like, so an analogy of Milkomeda to Cardano could be like Polygon to Ethereum. Mm-hmm. And yes. Polygon runs with their own token. We don't have a token. We run with ADA. And one of the things that we have seen, and we really care about this, is that sometimes it's like difficult to be like switching wallets and like all the projects, all the process to be moving assets is kind of tricky. So we want to make it super simple for users. And that's why Seba was leading all the efforts related to Flint, which is our wallet. And the idea of Flint is that supports Cardano natively, but also allows you to move assets to Milkomeda super easy. When you go to the same page in Flint, you can select send to Milkomeda, you put your Milkomeda address, and you can move tokens. That's super simple. And we believe that this is going to be like a core component to make an integration between Cardano and the Milkomeda sidechain way more easy for normal folks. And there's going to be multiple things going on, but every week we want to do like a team week. In other terms, like for example, the first week, we want to be able to explain to users what is the process of moving assets from Milkomeda, from Cardano to Milkomeda, and then back from Milkomeda to Cardano, and able to set up a wallet. Maybe the week after that, let's try something more interesting. Let's try like moving assets from Ethereum to Milkomeda, or even them from Milkomeda to Cardano, and the other way around as well. So Milkomeda has so much potential that maybe it's so difficult to do everything at once that we're going to be like trying to like focus in one at a time.
Certainly, yeah. And it might be the first time people are doing some of these things, right? Like it might be the first time that someone's used a bridge or a sidechain. And I think introducing people to the idea of a sidechain, which is an independent network, it's not a layer 2 that relies super heavily on the security guarantees of the main layer 1 blockchain, like something that everyone has heard of in the Cardano space, probably Hydra, right? There are these subtle differences between these two, and Seba, what Nico mentioned is Flint, sort of the idea of the wallet and the experience around managing your interaction with the sidechain, which is a separate network altogether. Can you talk a little bit more about what that enables from a user experience perspective, just fundamentally, and how that might differ from what you see in other areas of the space?
Yeah, for sure. I can talk about that. So with Flint, you can recover your Cardano wallet just like any other Cardano wallet out there. They're all interoperable. Once you restore your crypto wallet, you'll be able to see your ADA balance and all your tokens. If you go to the send page, you'll be allowed to send to Milkomeda, which means you lock your tokens on Cardano, and then you'll get the equivalent number of Milk ADA on Milkomeda. Now, currently for Milkomeda, you'll have to use MetaMask, but in the near future, we'll have your Milkomeda balance show up inside Flint as well, so you can easily see that your assets got wrapped. Sorry about that. You can ignore that. So you'll be able to see that your assets got wrapped. Now, on top of this, you'll also be able to wrap your Cardano native tokens. So like if you have, Sunday or Hosky or some of these tokens, you'll be able to wrap them to Milkomeda. That being said, your tokens are not by default wrappable to Milkomeda. So they need to be approved by the validator. So don't expect to be able to just mint any token and just wrap it. You'll need to get it whitelisted. And so this will work with any kind of fungible token. And for NFTs, we have a Catalyst proposal to add NFT support to Milkomeda, but that won't be part of V1.
Got it. So it may be fair to say then one of the initial focuses will be on the DeFi side then, Nico, very much focused on providing those opportunities for folks to take the tokens that they're working with on some of these native DEXs, decentralized exchanges, and use them on Milkomeda.
Yeah, and actually there is something super interesting that it may happen that a lot of users are going to be interacting with Milkomeda and they're going to notice it. What do I mean? How this could happen? That there is already some dApps in Cardano MAINNET, for example, MintSwap. And right now they don't have certain assets, but through Milkomeda and the connection with the other bridges that Milkomeda has, we are going to be able to move assets from Ethereum, Avalanche, or other chains to Cardano mainnet, and those assets could start showing up on DEXs or other dApps that are being built there. So that's pretty cool, because even if you never get to bridge assets or use Milkomeda directly, you still can see the benefits to the entire ecosystem.
Yeah, and I guess speaking of that, right, the benefits to the ecosystem, and for someone who's sitting in the chair watching this video and thinking about Milkomeda, now coming to grasp what it means and what it is, and of course now being excited because today is the day it goes to mainnet, what does that experience look like for somebody who is in that position, who's saying, great, I want to use this either passively or actively? What are some of the day one applications, or maybe it's not day one, maybe it's the first couple weeks. You'll see some projects that already exist in Cardano's mainnet kind of providing an experience there too. Do you guys have a list of those or an idea?
Yeah, so also with the launch, we are releasing through the Milkomeda Foundation a blog post that's going to be showing all the different projects that are going to be available since day one, and also super important, their security audit. So we believe that security is really, really, really important. And even us, through in Milkomeda, we have 2 different security audits. We're going to be releasing the first one today, and you're going to be able to read it. And also the second security audit should come up in upcoming weeks, but also it looks great. We just need to wrap up some stuff. And we are asking the same for the other projects, that users don't jump into any project that they do due diligence. They check if they did security audit, how do they work, and it's super important, because how do we provide a good standard for users is by also having users asking for those higher standards. So if the users start asking for hey, we also want the next startups to launch to have security audit, that they should care about this or that, the projects are going to see that's a requirement, and they're going to go for that. But if there's not so much demand for these things, startups are going to just take the fast road and avoid them. But our idea is to always be pushing for this, and hopefully also users are going to care about it.
Fingers crossed.
If I can add to that, so on day one, of course, you'll be able to download Flint Wallet, get your ADA wrapped to Milk ADA, and then interact with all these dApps. But also, if you're a developer and you see this and you're feeling excited, you want to launch something, there's two opportunities. One is, of course, you can come join the dcSpark family, and that's always available. But also, we launched last week the Milkomeda Accelerator program. So if you've got a team ready and an idea and you want to turn that into reality, consider applying to the Accelerator program. We're working with a well-known company called SOSV as well, and we'll be able to help you get your business off the ground. So that's also an opportunity. And if you're a holder and maybe you're not sure about using Milkomeda, but you want to support the effort, we also have multiple Catalyst proposals and Catalyst Fund 8. So you can go check out our Catalyst proposals. We'll have more blog posts about them in the coming weeks. And you can support these proposals, for example, like adding the NFT support, bridging NFTs between Cardano and Milkomeda. That's a Catalyst proposal. We also have some Catalyst proposals related to DAO infrastructure on Milkomeda. So you can create Cardano DAOs through Milkomeda infrastructure. And we have some other proposals out there that'll help improve the Milkomeda experience.
Awesome. Yeah, I think that more people should be involved in, using your earned weight in the network voting process for Catalyst. Please vote on proposals. It's really important to the future of the network and making sure that people can build in this space and build things that we really need, especially being focused on enablement. So something like Milkomeda that is providing another platform for people to build things on. It's important for the growth of Cardano in general. Now, the one thing I want to draw attention to, and I know we're coming up on close to half an hour now, is I have a lot of respect for you guys for building this without a token and for relying on ADA sort of natively, right? Of course, it's wrapped, but relying on ADA natively for many reasons. I think a lot of times having your own token brings people in for maybe sometimes the wrong reasons, right? It's where we want to use this because we want to own the token because we're speculating on price appreciation. Can you maybe bring me into the room or bring us into the room as you were discussing this and like how you were going to implement without a token and sort of why you went through that process?
But so basically, we always structure conversations in like, what is the main focus? And usually when you have the main focus, bring value and bring something that's like, has like the best UX, you start with like, from there, without a token. Like the token shouldn't be like, oh, let's have a token. What we can do to have a token. And so obviously we have used multiple platforms, and some of the pains that I have seen in Ethereum is like, for example, when you move to Polygon, is that users don't know that they need another token, and then they move assets like, oh, then I cannot interact with the other blockchain because I don't have this other asset to pay for gas or transactions fee. Oh my gosh, now I need to get this token and do it again. I need to set up another wallet to be able to work with this. And it's just like terrible user experience. So we are focused in like maybe more of like the traditional startup way that you bring users, you bring value, and eventually you're going to figure out a way to monetize these and make the project sustainable. And that's why we are like, just push for this way because it's like the way that makes sense.
Yeah, so working straight back from what makes the best user experience possible, what gives people the max opportunity. And I mean, I've experienced the same thing in moving from a one chain to the other, whether it's a layer one to a side chain or what have you. A lot of times, even if an exchange has the token, like Polygon's a great example. Like if you use Coinbase in the US, Coinbase only has the ERC20 version of Polygon or Matic. So then you try and go and bridge and use it and you can't. So then you need somebody who's going to be able to provide that for you so you can actually get started. So I think this is a really powerful thing. And I will leave links in the description below for folks to those blog posts that you talked about, getting started with Flint, seeing what's out there on day one. But the last question I have for you guys is, here we are, first quarter of 2022 gone, right? We're now moving into quarter two. What's the plan for the rest of the year in terms of Milkomeda? What's your strategy? And if we're sitting here December 31st having an update call together, what would you say is like, we did what we wanted to do for the year?
That's a big question. Probably we're going to, in another time, we're going to be able to like detail more what does it mean. But basically we're going to have the Cardano deployment. from today. Also, what we are expecting is that around in a month and a half, we're going to have a testnet for Algorand. Sorry. Also, probably we're going to go live with Algorand in like 2 or 3 months. Then we are also going to have a testnet working for Solana, which is like pretty cool. So the idea is that by December, we're going to have Cardano working as a sidechain, Algorand working as a rollup, Solana working as a rollup. Maybe we're going to have a testnet for Terra as well. But also the important thing is that after in December, we are also going to be seeing the impact of the hard forks for Cardano and even Hydra. So taking that into consideration, maybe we want to be able to move Milkomeda from stage 1 or phase 1 to phase 2, which will be to have Milkomeda as a rollup. And you already mentioned that that way we're going to be able to inherit security properties for the underlying chain. And also it's going to be pretty cool because what we will be able to do as a rollup, and this is going to be shared among all the different chains, is that right now there is like a lot of projects that are working with like CK technology, with zero knowledge proof. So the idea is that, for example, some of the projects that maybe are zero knowledge proof as a second layer in other chains, maybe they could come up to Cardano on some of the other chains as a layer 3, and they will be able to use our layer 2 of EVM compatibility to be able, as an adapter, to be able to like write and interact with the main chain, which will be like pretty cool.
That would be sweet. That would be sweet.
Yeah.
Milkomeda as middleware.
If I can add to that as well, you know, when me and Nico were at Emergo, we were pushing for working closer with the Ergo ecosystem, which is another blockchain that works kind of similar to Cardano. And at the time, people were very skeptical about this because why would you work with another chain? We already have Cardano. But at the end, I think a lot of people benefited from us working with them because, for example, in the upcoming hard fork for Cardano, the Vassal hard fork, some of the features being included are ideas we took from the Ergo ecosystem. We looked at them and was like, yeah, these are good ideas. We should include them in Cardano. This makes a lot of sense. And so I think at the end, there's a lot of good cross-pollination between the projects. And with the launch of Milkomeda today, we're now opening this up to the Ethereum ecosystem. And we have people from the Ethereum ecosystem come over to Cardano and they're going to bring ideas with them. And same thing when we go to Algorand, which also Algorand has a lot of good ideas, a lot of good research. We're going to be opening up the bridge, you know, between, you know, the Milkomeda Cardano deployment and the Milkomeda Algo deployment. And there's going to be a lot of good cross-pollination of ideas. And I'm sure a lot of those will lead to, you know, Cardano improvements that, you know, maybe we didn't think of ourselves. So, you know, sometimes people are kind of scared of coming to new networks because they're not sure what's going to happen. Will people, you know, leave or whatever? But I think every time this has happened, it's always been a net positive. And I'm really excited to see, you know, what kind of ideas we can share with each other.
It's definitely exciting times. Definitely. And I share your enthusiasm for cross-pollination in this space. I think it's much too counterproductive and much too early as well for people to be falling into full-on tribalism and not sharing ideas. I think it's the fundamental principle of what this space is all about. Is, you know, open source technologies that everyone can benefit from and we can all learn from each other. So love that. First of all, right, congratulations are in order for bringing this to fruition. You guys, obviously, I'm sure it's really exciting to see this land in MAINNET. I'm definitely really excited. I'm sure folks that are watching this are as well to use it. And I really want to thank you guys for the work that you're doing and for joining us on the show to talk about it. So thanks, Nico and Seba, for coming on.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Absolutely. So if you're watching this, please do check the links in the description below so you can get some more information on this and maybe you want to start using it. Today's the day. You've got a lot of time to learn and figure this out, and feel free to reach out, leave a comment if you have questions. I'm sure you can reach out directly to Nico, Seba, the rest of the team over at dcSpark as well. And most of all, thank you so much for watching, and until next time, cheers.